What's a good word, Josh? Your boy DKB here. So I'm catching up on all of the DaVante Adams trade stuff that's going on, and there's a ton of information that's flowing out. But the gist of it so far is that not only, I guess this got sparked because for a couple months now, DaVante Adams has said he's kind of been mulling over some trade stuff, or at least that's the rumors, based on how they've been performing. And there's a lot that contributed to that when you think about Derek Carr being shipped out to the Saints, and him being a big attraction for why he wanted to go to the Raiders, and then not really quite gelling with Antonio Pierce, and coming off of some recent comments from Pierce as well, where he was mentioning people making business decisions. And I wouldn't expect that he was directing that towards players like DaVante Adams, for example, who's a huge aspect of why they're currently sitting at 2-2, I believe. But Antonio Pierce also did something that would get plenty of other head coaches in bigger markets fire, where he liked a post on Twitter or X, I believe, that was related to DaVante Adams trade rumor sources and him no longer being with the team. And then shortly after, you get the confirmation that DaVante Adams is actually requesting a trade here. So to spark all of that off of where we're at now, I did see some rumors or reports that DaVante Adams is rushing for a trade to actually be initiated, and many executives around the league so far view the New York Jets as the favorite to land him. And that really shouldn't be any surprise. DaVante Adams has been connected to Rodgers since we acquired Rodgers last year, and it always felt like it's been a matter of when and not necessarily if. And it seems like the stars are finally aligning for something like this to come to fruition. So when you take a look at the landscape of what's been happening since the news dropped that the trade has been requested, you have the Saints as part of his wish list, along with the Jets, if you will, for who he would like to be sent to. And the Saints make a ton of sense as well, right? If he wanted to go to the Raiders, we're in a terrible predicament just to be with Derek Carr. It would make sense that he would still, on a much improved team, a much better coaching staff, want to again pursue that with Derek Carr with the Saints. And then, of course, with the Jets, it's all about the Aaron Rodgers show, right? And we have the pieces, but you are talking about another questionable coaching staff. Would he really put himself in a position where, even with the powers that be in Aaron Rodgers in his arm, he may still end up having an unsuccessful season? And he already landed probably his last major contract. You talk about $35.6 million in base salary being due to him in 2025 and 2026. The numbers are crazy. I'm not fully sure how we'll get him under the cap, but I'm not as worried about the cap stuff in terms of how we can get it done. I know we can. You take a look at how plenty of teams like the Saints and the Rams in the past have gone and put major contracts under their belt, and they've just been towing the line of being cap compliant. So that's not as much of a problem, but you would like to see the Jets resolve the Hassan Reddick drama before bringing in another player or potential new issue here. But outside of that, some other teams that are interested, you have the Cowboys, who landed some initial interest, and I heard that they've been kind of waning after hearing what the trade compensation package may look like. And then the Steelers, and the Steelers are a team that would be excited to add a top tier caliber wide receiver to Justin Fields, help out George Pickens, really help round out their roster with Calvin Austin III over there, really being the only other credible source of production, probably. And he really just had one major game outside of a lot of silence. So makes sense. Now, he is favored, as mentioned, to be in a Jets uniform. That's not just from executives around the league. That also goes for the betting folks out there, where we're currently running the top odds. And then the Saints follow us. So it really feels like it'll be down to either us or the Saints and who potentially offers a better package. But what that package looks like, according to the Raiders, it'll take a second round pick and some kind of additional compensation. Don't know if that means additional pick or picks, or if that means they're willing to take a player off our hands as well. And I've seen a lot of people mention throwing in a Morgan Moses, throwing in a Hassan Reddick, for example. In some crazy cases, I've seen both. I wouldn't want to go that route. If we include Hassan Reddick, great, because I want him out the doors anyways, even though we could desperately use him. But that's essentially what we're looking at here. So would the Jets be willing to essentially sacrifice two major resources and only have gotten production out of one player, assuming we get DaVante Adams? And the other player I'm speaking about is obviously Hassan Reddick with his conditional third round pick, and he's not looking like he's going to satisfy those requirements whatsoever. So I'm interested to see how this pans out. When you want to talk about some of the player influence, either in or outside of the building as well, I did see Sauce post some kind of cryptic tweet, and it was really just like a picture of a tattoo. And I want to say it was like a baby wrapped in cloth or something crazy like that. So I'm assuming it's kind of like a let the decision rest in God's hands type situation. You never really know what's going on in the minds of some of these players in recent days. But Tyreek Hill also had tweeted something about him waking up and seeing the news and being excited. And for him being a division opponent, it makes me think that he probably figures there's a likely chance he ends up in division as well to increase the receiver competition just across the board in terms of the AFC East as a whole. So I'm curious how this all pans out. I'm more so interested the timeline, right? Because the Raiders don't necessarily have to be in a rush. Again, they're also in a decent position, being 2-2, and whether they decide to play Adams or not during this whole situation is another story. But they can slow play this up until the trade deadline, which I believe is November 5th. Whereas the Jets, especially coming off of the performance against the Broncos, you probably want to continue to throw as many high end resources as you can on the offensive side to help mitigate Nathaniel Hackett and whatever decisions Robert Saleh is agreeing with in terms of game planning and all that kind of stuff that we've chatted about. So we'll see what happens if DaVante Adams gets his wish. Potentially, we can see him maybe in the next week or two here. Um, I think it all comes down to Joe Douglas and how much of a push maybe he gets from Aaron Rodgers and potentially other players. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think though. DaVante Adams in a Jets uniform. It looks like it is highly likely that can come to fruition for us. I'm interested in what you guys have to say, and I'll catch you again. Peace.